I love this podcast, the name of it and the intention of it because of that. Like you're bringing people literally to the couch to have a conversation to share all of who they are and how that informs all of it.
Like a full, well-rounded human in your experience.
Yeah.
I think a lot too is like this social media like world that we live in where you feel like I need a niche.
I need to marry that niche and ride that niche to the top.
Because then there's brand confusion. Right. It can't be brand confusion. And it's like, I'm brand confusion, you know?
That needs to be a soundbite.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, beautiful people. I'm Deja Riley.
And I'm Alicia Ferguson.
And you're tuning into Dose of Duality. Welcome back to the podcast that dives into deep conversation, cultivating a sense of community around the state of coexistence. We are here.
We're here.
I'm so excited to be here with you.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. Like, it's always a good time when there's like 3 bold, beautiful Black women in the same space. Like, this is about to be a yummy conversation. It's going to be a soul-filled conversation.
I felt that.
Like, I'm ready to dive in.
Yeah, me too. And I love that, like, I mean, you guys didn't get to hear it, but we had so much conversation, like, off camera. So I almost feel like we're just, like, picking up where we, like, left off.
We are. How are you feeling today?
I feel nurtured.
Ooh, I love that.
I feel really grounded and just, like, nurtured. There's so much love, like, swirling around here.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, like, happy to be in good company.
Yes, me too. Me too. I mean, you know, I think that since we already have her in the space, we have to go right into it because we can't waste a single second, okay?
I'm with you on this.
The world may know her as a multifaceted wellness entrepreneur, a lifestyle and fitness coach, a pro volleyball player, a runner, the face of Strong Feel. Shout out to Lululemon. You see it. And her name is Kayla Jeter. But I'm not a big fan of placing labels on people, of attaching a specific identity to people. I feel energies. And so I'm just going to let Kayla tell you a little bit about who she is. Without further ado, welcome to Dose of Duality, Kayla!
We need snaps for you.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, we've just had so much good conversation already. I feel so lit up and energized by both of you. And I love that we're starting with, okay, what do you do? But tell us who you really are.
Yeah.
Because we're always defined, especially in any industry, by all the things we do, the titles that we hold. So who am I? How would I introduce myself? First and foremost, I'm Kayla, like, period. Like, I am who I am.
Yeah.
I am a sister. I am a daughter. I am a woman in service. I'm a Black woman. I am a community builder. I'm a creator, which continues to be things that I do. But who am I is I'm just a little girl in a big adult body trying to find my space and live life and make beautiful relationships in all of it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I feel like I need a picture of baby Kayla.
I know.
So I can see that inner child, baby.
I haven't changed from when I was like 4. I swear I've just gotten bigger. We'll have to share that with you.
Yes, please do. We need it. We need it in our lives.
Baby Kayla photo right here.
Adult with brain style. That's it.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Gosh. Want to do a grounding moment before we get started?
Let's do it. You take the lead, babe.
So I am a huge fan of intentions in everything that I do. I feel like you ladies are similar.
Yes.
So this is one of my favorite deck of intention cards. It's been well loved up on y'all. No judgments over here.
That. No judgments allowed. Okay.
So we're going to give it a little shuffle. And I want us all to just take a deep breath to just ground the energy. Yep. And just go inward for a moment. And then when you're ready, you're going to open your eyes and just let your hands let the energy guide the hands.
Okay. The one that's resisting you.
Yes.
Always the one I have to grab every time.
I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
We want you to go
I'm
first.
so excited. Ooh. I am receptive. I'm open to new ideas. I'm willing to try new methods. And I consider alternate viewpoints. I welcome intellectual stimulation. I am receptive. This couldn't have been more right in this moment.
Really?
I mean,
Do you want to like dive into that? Go ahead.
What I think is really beautiful about being receptive is you have to you have to surrender.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to put yourself in the shoes of the other. And being in conversation with both of you, which is literally just met both of you on Friday. You know what I mean? Just most recently. And first conversations and meeting people, especially as a woman, as an adult, can sometimes make you feel like your back's up against the wall and you have to be defensive all the time. And it's hard to get into intimate, genuine, vulnerable conversation with new people.
Yeah.
So here we are in conversation, and we're gonna go there.
Yes, we are.
The best way.
Yes,
We're
we
gonna
are.
go there.
Yes.
All of it.
Absolutely.
And I'm very grateful to be here on Love Day.
This is so sweet. And even when you were talking about that podcast earlier, like intellectual stimulation, I was just like, yes, this is like all for you right now.
This is the moment.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Do you want to get it?
Yes. I feel this. I'm safe.
Ooh.
I trust my intuition to lead me down the right path. Looking back on my trials, I see that I am still here and thriving. I always end up better, stronger, and wiser. Ooh, bring that back. I've proven to myself. I've proven to myself that I will always make it time and time again. I am safe.
Yes.
I felt all that.
That was
Me too.
That hit.
That was a good one.
That time and time again, I am safe, better, wiser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the idea of being able to feel safe in community. And, you know, when I was younger, I felt like I didn't always feel that. And so being able to feel that as an adult, like I have a great appreciation for being safe in community with others, being seen by others, being valued and supported and respected by others, like that has so much meaning for me. So as soon as you say I am safe, like the fact that like I can sit in this space and know that we can have open conversation, that we're not judging each other, that we're here in support of one another, like that means everything. So I love that. And I love that that was your intention because it also speaks to you feeling safe in this space.
Yes.
And yeah, I love that.
It's the co-creation now.
Yeah.
It's
Like it's creating that container of safety for us to like be able to share so openly.
Yeah. We're
Right,
going to be
babe?
sharing.
What
We're
you
going to be
got?
sharing.
What you got, babe?
Oh, I like this. I am a gift. Yeah.
Yes, you are. Truly.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a gift to the world. When I lead with kindness and love, I create a ripple effect that benefits more people than I'll ever know. My presence, my knowledge, and my passions contribute to the greater good of the world. I am a gift. Yes, for this affirmation. I'm going to say this one.
Think of the ripple effect of this podcast.
Yeah.
In this moment, just like what you're creating, what we're creating together.
It's the support for me. I love you both. Honestly, that was beautiful and such a great way to kick off this conversation.
I know.
Honestly, I am receptive. I am safe. I am a gift. All amazing affirmations.
All the things.
All things I think I needed to hear too. You know what I mean? I think in pulling what you needed also gave me what I needed.
Yeah.
I was like, I am safe. I am a gift.
Yeah.
And now we're here.
Yeah. And now we're here.
Love that. Do we put them back
We'll
in?
put them back.
or-
We'll put them back. We'll put them back for next time.
Yes.
There's a way to do this.
Yeah, right?
Not you.
Right.
It's a Capricorn in me.
No, it is.
There is order.
Okay, so you guys didn't hear this, but we just found out. Kayla, when's your birthday?
January 7th.
Alicia, when's your birthday? January.
I was like, does she want me to ask? Nope, she took it. She's got it. She's got it.
January 8th.
Yes. Capricorns. Big Capricorn energy.
Big Capricorn
January Capricorn energy.
And when you said that, it just let me know that we're even more aligned.
We're here.
Because like December and January, so different.
So different.
And again, we love them. Lots of room for play and discovery, but like January.
But it's the January for us.
It's the shoulder for me.
January
Capricorn. Okay, when's your birthday, Deja?
So I'm not a Capricorn.
Okay, it's okay. We love it.
But I am a Pisces. I am in flow.
Oh, yes.
March 3rd.
Oh, love that.
Oh, coming
It's my
up.
birthday.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm like gonna ease into this birthday. I like so many of my friends were like, what do you want to do? Like, I want to celebrate. And even I think just even hearing like, ooh, it's coming up. And I'm like, you know, I just don't want to make a big deal about it. I just want to like glide into this birthday. Like, I just want to embrace this 35th year of life and just like be grateful that I'm here.
Totally.
And be grateful for all the lessons that I've learned leading up to this moment
Entirely.
and just like absorb the energy that's around me.
I love,
Like,
love.
Yeah. So like, it is a big birthday, but
Yeah.
also like, I think all of the, like the excitement is like deeply within me, but also
Sure.
like this idea of like moving in ease is exciting in itself, you know?
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, it feels big, but also like, just let it like, let it come,
Yeah.
let
you
it
know?
unfold naturally.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
There is a lot of pressure around like those, because I just turned 35. Around those like birthdays.
Yes.
And like I love what you're saying though, because like it was with ease.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
my friend's like, you want to do a party? And I was like, I had a year last year.
I was gonna speak to that.
And
Yeah.
I am so grateful that I am standing 10 toes down.
Yeah,
Same.
firmly.
And I just feel like grounded and solid. And
Yeah.
I just want to be around people that I love. Like I don't
Yeah.
need all the hoopla. And it's good to celebrate yourself.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's like, don't take that away. But I don't know. I've just felt like I was moving with ease. It felt calm. It felt smooth. It just felt
Yeah.
like really organic.
I love that.
What did you do?
No, I was in Mexico City, solo trip.
Yes.
I don't know any Spanish. And I was like,
oh my
let's
gosh,
go.
yes.
I want to go. I want to go.
That's such a great place to spend your birthday.
I can get, please, thank you, bye, hello. That's about it. That's about it. But I feel exactly what you're both saying. It resonates as far as I'm blessed and I had a beautiful year last year. And so going into my next birthday, I didn't feel like I needed to be a big celebration because I've been celebrating so much of who I am
Yes.
all year and will continue to. So it didn't feel like it needed to be this big monumental moment. Again, we love celebrating moments, birthdays, big, small, no matter what. But just taking some time for me to I love the glide. Like it felt like a glide. I felt that when you did it. Like a glide, a chill. Like I woke up and, I think spending the day doing the things that you want to do and that fill you up. So when I was in Mexico City, I was connected with a run crew called Dromo.
Okay.
And they had a run that morning, which isn't abnormal, but it was a trail run, which there aren't trails in Chicago where I'm from. And it ended up being a 10-mile trail run, which 10 miles, I'm training for London Marathon. So it's doable.
Yeah.
But at like a mile and a half high, the altitude knocked me out. Like I was like, okay. And just me and the boys just running in the forest. Like, and it was a beautiful experience. And it was one of the best birthdays I've had just to be in community. And it didn't have to be people I knew intimately, but we were together.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice way to start my birthday.
I
this
love
year.
that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Breathing and moving and just like being and just exploring new areas, new people, new parts of yourself.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
That's it. Capricorns.
I'm going to learn so much about Capricorn.
We love Pisces.
We do.
It's very much
happy. I
complimentary.
welcome that.
It's very much
Yes.
complimentary.
Yes. Let's continue to compliment each other. I love this in all ways. But I love that you touched on this idea of community and running, and I want to run fiercely in the direction of that.
Oh, I love it.
So let's talk talk about the runs.
Yeah.
So first of all, you're doing this thing called 100 Miles of Summer, right? And you do this every year.
6 years.
Tell us a little bit more about this. 6 years is amazing.
It's been 6 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's it was a personal challenge that has become a global community. So when I first moved to Chicago 5 years ago, I didn't have a car. I worked downtown. I wanted to see the city. And when I played professionally in Finland, one way I got to know the little town I was in was through running. I played, volleyball is my background. Court's 30 feet. 30 feet. Yeah. So extensive distance running, anything past 2 miles was a distance run in my mind. It was a long run.
It is for me too.
It's a long run. It's a long run,
yes.
right? And so when I moved to Chicago, I was like, okay, it's a summertime shines and energy. It's a vibe. We love it. Yes. I want to get to know the best places to eat, cute bars, cute things to do. I was like, okay, I'm just going to run. And so I put up this challenge for myself, May 1st, August 31st, walk, run, jog 100 miles. Yes. And I think coming from sports, specifically volleyball, this performance side of me was like, okay, well, you have to sprint 100 miles. Maybe not all at once, but every time you run it as a sprint, you're hitting a sub 8 mile. You have to just rip it. It was way too competitive. It was way too aggressive.
The overachiever in us.
Very much so. Very much so. And just this feeling that if I'm going to be doing anything physical or put myself in the position to perform, I have to then perform. So the first year there was 12 participants. It was on an app. We just cheered each other on. It was a race to first. Obviously, it's my first year. I have to win.
get first.
I have to win. Obviously. And so I was like, okay, this was actually, I'm really proud of myself that I just ran 100 miles. And that's something I'd never done over the course of 4 months, 25 miles a month. That's a lot, you know? And so it's just grown from the second year we had 73 participants. And then the third year was during lockdown when everyone was looking for a way to escape or just release. It bumped up to like 500 participants. And this is all on an app. It's all on an app. It's not like
so you can be anywhere.
And so last year was fourth year was over 1,200. And we went from Marrakesh to LA to like Paris. And then last year was over like 3,000 people and honestly, it's all through people tagging me on Instagram. I reshare, I just respond, and we're just clocking miles, and that's it. And it's intentionally for people just to get moving. And I think I think about movement, especially in the run space, it can turn competitive really quickly. But it's always been a source of community. It's come as you are, move at your own pace. This is your own race with your smile with people. And one thing I always try to really reiterate, especially again, going to the 6th year, is I want this to be a catalyst for you to focus on you. Because what tends to happen is when we get moving, it then bleeds into how we sleep, how we eat, how we think. It has a snowball effect. So I want the challenge to remain fun and light and inviting to people who just want to get started. There's people who walk 100 miles. Like in a month, you know what I mean? It's not about being first.
Well, I mean, and even in the idea of being first, like I always think about being in competition with myself, right? I want to be better than I was the last time I tried something, or like when I'm going into something for the first time, I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. So like, honestly, if I did 100 miles and you're really making me think about it. So like I might join, I might be a new participant.
I'm feeling that too.
Honestly.
Because you make it so open. Like I don't need to sprint or jog. Like I can walk one day if I'm feeling it, or I can walk the whole entire time. So it makes it feel like it's discovery. I'm exploring myself as I'm going about it. So it's fun.
Entirely. I think that's what it's about because you know, like I said, background being volleyball, I was in performance training and now I'm running my first marathon in April. I'm running my second marathon in September. I'm running Berlin.
Gosh. Okay, yes.
2 marathons.
Yes, I saw. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I kind of leaked that second one just because I just found out. So I'll be running with St. Jude as a St. Jude hero. So fundraising for them and running. And again, court's 30 feet. And my friends who know me know I've talked trash about the marathon for years. I still have my feelings about it. I think to go about it in a way that if you don't have any experience running at all, if running down the block feels uncomfortable and not that challenging, but like physically uncomfortable. And then you go to run a marathon, I think that's intense. It's just a really quick curve up. And for me as a trainer and someone in the wellness space, I tend to think about, okay, your lifestyle changes drastically, but you also gain this community. You put your body through something really, really hard. What does your recovery look like? And then afterward, when people are done running marathons, they experience this loss, this grief. They spent 4 months or how many ever weeks or months it is training for something that is gone. So for me, I ran for the first time and trained for the first time as a runner last year for 1 year. I did 2 half marathons. I ran the Speed Project with Lululemon, which is running from LA to Vegas, 340 miles.
Wild.
I saw you. Honestly, I was like, she's my hero. Like,
it was so fun though.
Watching you women fiercely run that. And then Hollis came back and told us like some of the the behind the scenes of like how wild it was.
Totally.
I was like, oh my goodness. Like people were like, cause it's several different teams, right? And so like there were people like in cars or trucks or whatever, like following you guys. But then also like you guys were running at night sometimes. And I mean, just like the conditions that you were under, the fact that you guys got to do it together was beautiful too. And like, it was, I was following the whole thing, just like I'm living vicariously through you all
like
because
in the desert at night.
There's
so many challenges.
And it's an unsanctioned race. So there's no official course. There's no course monitor. If you get pulled over by the police because you can't tail runners. So if we're running on the side of the road and our Jeep has flashers on, they're like, what are you guys doing? So we would just tell them we're training for our run season, you know? So there's so much discovery that happens through running. And I think for me, what that looks like, especially with things like 100 Miles of Summer, is like you're spending time with yourself. You're spending time, even if you're listening to music or a podcast, it's you with you. And you're able to see where your challenges are. And in those moments, how are you going to overcome those challenges? So running has been something that I have leaned into. Like I said, I will still talk trash about the marathon, but I love it. But it's also just like as a Black woman, running long distance, like there aren't many people out there who look like me with braids. Like, you know, there aren't many women.
Why you were my hero, I was like, I see me and her.
I see, and like, and seeing is believing, right? And so I grew up feeling like I was always told, and probably always told, like, you're a runner as a Black woman, you sprint. You do sprints. That's it. Because that's where we see ourselves, right?
You go as fast as you can, as hard as you can.
And that's it.
Like,
Right, which is why I try to sprint 100 miles. That's not going to happen.
Because that's realistic, right?
So I think it's just redefining and then rediscovering what health, wellness, fitness looks like for you, where it fits in your lifestyle, where it needs to feel good. It's going to be challenging, which is not to be confused with it feeling good.
Yeah. And that's that 1% that you... I've stalked you.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, we both softly stalked you and like hope you welcome that with open arms because here we are.
Yeah. That's what that reminded me of, the 1% rule that you live by. Right? And so that idea of just like being open, trying, like just putting one foot in front of the other, like every single day, like that's the goal. Not, it's like progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
And coming back to that continuously.
It's
just hard for a recovering perfectionist.
Total. I mean, incremental progress is hard. I think we all, when we have big goals, and then with goals come responsibility, with the titles come responsibility, and you want to, and then you see everyone on the internet doing all the things, and not saying everyone has to share the struggle, but like it's a struggle to get to. It's work. It's work to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So knowing if you move the needle small every day, and it doesn't mean that you have to send 60 emails. It could be that one email you've been avoiding for 3 days.
Yep.
I'm speaking to myself right now.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean?
I receive that.
Like, or even like tidying up your space so you have a better environment that's like not visually distracting or like stress inducing or going to bed earlier. It is those small
Stop
little
yelling
things.
at me.
Gosh, Capricorn?
I hear you, Kayla.
I mean, like these are things that I think like, what does my health and wellness look like? It's not the creation, it's the maintenance of myself through the creation.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Like, that's the work, is the consistency of it.
Yeah, which is hard.
100%. Yeah. Hard. I think like also, thinking of this idea of 100 miles of summer, I'm also I think I'm softly telling myself you're going to do it. Not fully committed yet. I'm still new to Strava. So like, but I feel like it's something I can do because you emphasize accessibility.
Yeah.
And so like for me, when something feels digestible, like of course I want to like tackle it head on and be like, I want to be the best at this. Yeah. I had this funny idea because I was telling a friend, like, I had to take this period of rest at the end of the year while I was in the midst of my fertility journey. And as soon as I went into it, I was like, oh, Deja, I know what kind of person you are. I literally said, I'm going to rest better than anyone has ever rested. Who says that? I'm going to be the best rester of all time.
No one's going to rest like
No one's going to rest like this. Right.
I'm a rest like you've never seen. Like, that's it. What are we doing?
And a hair flip after. Like, I really was like so committed to the rest in that. And I was like, proud of myself for leaning into it that strongly. Yeah. But also like, that is the overachiever in me. That's like, I want to do this amazingly. I want to be great at this. I want, I want all of the accolades and rewards from it. I think like the best reward from doing something like that is like being able to tell myself that I did it. I stayed committed. I was like dedicated and devoted to some specific cause and really just to better myself. I think it was interesting because last year was my first year like starting to like implement running into my routine.
Welcome.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Shout out to Purcell because he helped to train me for the, I was about to say Strong Field. That was your campaign. The Charge Field campaign. And I had to run in the campaign. Yeah. And they wanted it to be realistic. Yeah. And I remember being like, so, you guys, I box, I do kickboxing, I dance. I was like offering up all the things. Right. And then like literally like running is the last thing on my list, the absolute last. They were like, no, we're going to have you run and not just run. That was the transition from scene to scene.
Takeoff.
Was running. Yeah. And they had to do several takes as we know.
It was beautiful, by the way.
Thank you so much.
It was
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
The entire campaigning. I was just like,
Thank you.
The details of it.
Truly.
Yes, thank you. Honestly, like it was so fulfilling to go through the process of preparation and then into the meat of things, like actually be in the campaign and then the aftermath of like the promotions and it actually launching. That was beautiful. But my greatest gift was adding running to my routine.
Talk about it.
Really, honestly and truly. Okay. So, they talk, they talk about this thing called runner's high. It does exist.
Oh, yes. It does.
Like it definitely exists. And I remember at the beginning, I was just going into it like, I don't want to do this. Like, I know I have to do this. Yeah. So I was doing a little bit of interval training and like, maybe uphill sometimes, like just pushing my limits.
Sure.
And so I wasn't really finding the joy in that. But then I went to Italy over last summer. And I was having a moment where I needed to clear my head.
Mm-hmm.
I was like all up in my head and like needed to clear my head. And I was like, I'm just going to go for a run.
Yeah.
I like put my Strava on like just to track it. But like I had no idea the pathway. I just like took off running from the hotel and like ended up running like 3.5, almost 4 miles. Okay. Before I stopped, but I had to keep going to get back to where I was. So essentially, I ran like 6 miles. Okay,
that's amazing.
But I was just in love with the city.
That's it.
Like I was in Rome, and I decided to run. Like this was just like intuitively. I ran like around sunset. And like I literally saw the like cotton candy skies, and the people were moving all around, and the cobblestone that I was running on, and like and I was like, oh, this is what they talk about. This is the runner's high.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think now embracing that, discovering that, and knowing that that exists, like I'm on a mission to continue to find that. And for me, that's about environment.
Absolutely.
I realized that like I need to run with like no restrictions, no specific plan, and just like go and like soak up the world around me.
The joy.
This run talk. So I used to run treadmill like before I do a workout. Like it was I have to, right? It wasn't I get to at all, right? It was like let me just knock this out real quick. So I'm nice and limber for a workout. And then over pandemic, when you were speaking about this, when you're like locked in the house and you can't really do much. And I'm working out inside, but I'm like, I just need fresh air. I just need to breathe. And I was going through a breakup, and we actually were both still in the same house together. So it was even more suffocating at times. And so I used running to clear my head. And it became therapy, a form of therapy for me. I tracked, and I didn't like to run.
Right.
I just need to like preface that.
Really
or and if I ran, it was a treadmill. Because I could look at, exactly 2 miles. I can look at time. I'm putting it 2.5, so
You're
I know
in
I'm
control.
getting... Don't
that part.
yell at me either. The control of it.
That's huge.
No,
that's
for real though. And I was
huge.
like, that's what it was. I can control all the elements. I love that for me. And so I was like, I'm gonna run. And it became so freeing. Like it was the best time spent. Like I would wake up at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And my progress was even more impressive to me. So like seeing my endurance grow, like noticing that like, oh, you used to get to this point, that tree or that like block, and you'd be tired and you'd have to walk. And it was just like, no, I can continue. I remember one time, and this is, I know my neighbors were looking at me like I was crazy. I was like in full tears, like snotty nose tears, and just running. And it was like, no, my spirit like needs this right now. And so I just love the idea that like running has been like a part of everyone's life, and it takes so many different forms of how it helps you in your wellness journey. For me, it helped me deal with grief. Like, right? For you, you're like, oh, this like self-discovery to help you clear your head. And so like you got into running, but I'd love to hear like, what does running do? How does it help you? Like what ways does it show up?
It's a mix of both. So when I think about when I was younger and would go out for a run, it's because I was upset. Like my mom told me I couldn't go to a dance or something. I'm like, I'm going for a run. And I'm like 12. Like, you know what I mean? Like the drama. So it's definitely always been some type of release for me. It's also definitely been exploration, which is why I think I've never done a marathon. That 26.2 creates restriction. I understand there's a course, and I understand, I honor and respect the distance of it, but running for me is about exploration. And there's a quote, I'm going to definitely butcher it, but it's like Kipchoge, who's the best distance runner in the world. He explains that it's a dance with Mother Earth and like a respect to Father Sky. Like it's a dance. It's a dance the whole time.
Oh, bring that. Yes. It's all about the movement and the dance for me.
Listen. You know what I mean? And when I was down in Mexico City, it was the same thing. Like, hey, we're running as a way to express joy and freedom. And like, who cares about the pace? Like, you know what I mean? And that's where I think shifting the expectation of how it's supposed to look like and how it serves you is so, so important. So when I think about things, even like rest, how am I defining rest for me? Not because I'm supposed to take rest and people tell me I need to take rest and I'm supposed to live this soft life, which has an aesthetic, which has, these parameters around it. What do I actually need? And so running for me has become exploration in all facets of who I am, where I can go, where it's taken me, and making sure that while I run, I still have parts of that. So when I do my group runs in Chicago, people come together. They always get intimidated to run with me. They're like, are we going to run? I'm like, we're going to walk, run, jog. It's totally up to you.
Yeah.
2 of my sisters live in Chicago. They always come and lead the walk crew. So they have,
we love that.
It's a family affair.
I love it.
Yeah. And then even when I do my quote unquote runs, it's like walk, jog, run.
Yeah.
Maybe like a half mile to a mile, we stop. We have like a cute little connection community moment, something fun as like, okay, do you take the pen at the restaurant or do you leave the pen at the restaurant? Or, and then we like go a little further, then we stop, like, what do you need today? So it's meant to be exploration, but also physically something you get to do. And keeping it fun for me keeps me interested. Once it turns into work, you know what I mean? It's just like, I got to do something else because it's become a space for me just to release.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I absolutely love that. And just the idea too of you creating like moments of fun and play, right, within it.
Yeah.
It like welcomes newbies to come, and so it doesn't feel intimidating. And you being like a professional athlete, I can imagine it's like, I don't do any of this, and then you want me to just like do this with you, like now, like I don't.
That's literally what it is.
Like I don't know, I can't. Like this is impossible. So I love that you just create such a welcoming and like environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
And speaking of pro athlete, by the way, so we're gonna tap on this door. So like for me, so much of like my sense of music and art and creativity comes from my bloodline. You know, it comes from what my dad passed down, what my family passed down to me. And so being a pro athlete, did you feel like it was a choice for you to do that? Or did you feel led to do it because, you know, your heroes, the people that you admired, your family also were athletes?
This is a great question.
Yeah.
I don't think I have fully unpacked that as far as what drove me to get into playing volleyball specifically and going the pro route. But those influences were definitely there, right? So my dad played for the Rams, Patriots, and the Giants. And my mom's from Queens, so that's how my parents met when my dad was at training camp. And so when I was born, my dad was just at the end of his career, but sports, that's where I'm at right now. That's how sports were on all the time. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the way I was raised had those through lines of playing sports, of being on a team, of, you know, the regimen, the routine, the commitment, the sacrifice, the hustle. I saw from my dad and just the way he lived his life. And then my mom's from Queens. Like that's just who
Shout out
she is.
to Queens.
That's just who she is. You know what I mean? And so I think those hands guided me. I think there was also several other things, exactly like going to college. My parents couldn't necessarily put me through college, but I knew I was athletic. I had people around me who supported me. And I knew that if I've got a scholarship, boom, I'm done. You know what I mean? I get my school paid for. And so my uncle also played for the Steelers. So when I think about who Kayla is, the first thing most people identify me as is an athlete. From my physicality specifically. And then they learn like, oh, you're an athlete. I'm like, but I have so much more to offer, which is why I love when we opened with that question. Well, who are you? Because we were talking about, people are really quick to pigeonhole who you are and what you do and what you can offer. And I'm a human being that has many different interests, that has so much to give. And so sport is just a small part of my life, but it's influenced a very, very large part of my life.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And we're going to continue this conversation just after this commercial break. It's going to take a little pause. So, Alicia, let's talk about Lululemon. Many may already know that it's an athletic and footwear brand built for run, train, yoga, and so much more. But what they may not know, and we can attest to as proud Lululemon ambassadors, is that it's a brand that puts people before product.
Yeah. And as creators, we dream real big. And so Lululemon has really championed and supported us, honestly, every step of the way. And so whether it's creating an intimate poetry show or training for the New York Marathon, soon to come, or whether the vision is to create a 2-day interactive wellness festival for Black History Month, or this podcast, which is amplifying 2 of its Black ambassadors and many others, Lululemon has really partnered with us to help build our dreams. And so we just want to say thank you and sending so much love to our Lulu team. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Dose of Duality. And we are here with Kayla.
Yeah.
Kayla, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling so good. Your card's safe is definitely how I feel in this conversation. And all just juicy love.
Yes.
Love.
We did say it was going to be yummy, juicy, all the
And
things.
it feels that. It
Warm.
feels
Very
that.
warm and just like, it feels, the word that keeps coming up for me too is like nurtured.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that like you guys are sharing, it just feels like it's like adding and it's adding to me. It's speaking to things that are like, I'm living right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I used to love these books when I was younger. The Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Throwback.
I feel like I go back and read those like as an
Me
adult
too.
to really get the
Yes.
lessons out of them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let's all reread
Yeah.
Chicken Soup for the Soul.
I love
All the
this.
editions of
circle
it.
back.
Yes, all of them. So good.
I heard you speak about different communities. So there's a running community, and you're talking about your family as a community. What is that? What does community mean for you?
Community for me is a space I can go back to fully as myself and be accepted as myself. And I know community it's a pretty trendy word these days, and not to knock the space that it creates for people, but I think in spaces where you have people of similar interests, because that's why you're brought together, of different backgrounds, I think that's where we really get to appreciate each other. I think if we're all the same, we're not gonna be able to grow and learn and understand and be who we can fully be. But a space where I can feel supported, to feel safe, to feel nurtured, but also be challenged and encouraged and uplifted. And to wrap all those in one word, perhaps championed, is like one of my favorite words when I think about community, that whether I'm there, away, or even in the creation of whatever that space is going to be, that every person's being championed so they can let their inner strengths shine through, and maybe spaces where they have more challenges can be supported in it.
Yeah. I love that. And you know, I've watched so many of your videos, Kayla. It's like, you know, background stalking over here. But like, you know, I've been able to follow your journey before we even got to meet in real life. And I love this new space of community that I feel like you've opened up and really honestly like created your own voice around with like grief. It's just not something often embraced or talked about, especially in our communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just made it so palatable. You just opened up the space in such a beautiful way, in such an honest and raw way. And even your light and your joy still shine through in that. You know, it's it is so beautiful to see. But I think even in having this conversation and welcoming you into this space with us, I was thinking about that coexistence because I'm like, I look at Kayla and I'm like, warrior. I am like winner. I am like, you know, athlete of the world. Like I look at you and admire your strength and your courage and your ambition and all of the amazing accomplishments that you've had. But I think one of the things that I admire most about you is your vulnerability.
Thank you.
And just how you share like so openly about your journey. So I'm like touching the surface here, but we're going to peel back the layers in that. I just want to first ask you, one, do you feel comfortable sharing a little bit about your story about your parents?
I'm on the verge of tears, but it's normal.
Okay. Yeah. And we're going to sit here and we're also going to cry with you. And we're going to hold you through this time. But as we open up the conversation, I want to leave space for you to share your story and exactly whatever it is that you want to put on the table.
Excuse me. I always take a breath before I start because it's never an effort to hide tears, but I think just collecting my thoughts and my energy. So thank you first for that. And I think the acknowledgement that, excuse me, that going through life, carrying grief so close to the surface can feel challenging, but you can still thrive through it. Sorry, my voice also changed. Okay. That you can still thrive through it. So my dad passed away in 2016 from a heart attack, unexpectedly. I was at work in Cincinnati. Just to give the story, I was at work in Cincinnati, and I was coaching at the time there. And there was a missed call from someone, one of his friends. Come to find out, I'm at my girlfriend's house who lives in Cincinnati, knock on the door. Police are there. My dad had been dead on the floor for a week. He had a heart attack. And we didn't have the closest relationship, but he's still my dad, you know? And I think from there, excuse me, I was definitely put in a position where I had to either harden or find a way to live, to coexist with both, to be strong and also to feel. Because, excuse me, I had to then tell my mom, I had to call her ex-husband, I had to call and tell her. I had to call and tell his dad because he didn't have a good relationship with him. I had to drive down to Tennessee to tell my younger sister. So I was the one who knew. And when I think about that challenge of losing someone who you didn't have a close relationship but like shaped so much of your life, it's hard. And then fast forward, my mom, 2012, had breast cancer. 2016, my dad passes away. 3 months later, I found out my mom's cancer is back. It spread to her bones and her liver. And there's no cure for bone cancer. There's only palliative care. And when I think about going back to that conversation I had with her doctor, when I first found out, my mom just texted me because even the first time her cancer came with breast cancer, she didn't tell me. I found out through a family friend who texted me like, hey, I'm praying for you. And I just left practice. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I called my mom and I was like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know how to tell you. Here's Grammy, your great aunt who lives in Queens. And so she told me, my mom always struggled sharing her health because she was like, I don't want to leave my girls. And so 2016 in June, my mom's doctor called me like, hey, her cancer came back. It's in her bones and liver, but, she's at Cleveland Clinic. This is where, the best care in the Cancer Institute. Your mom's a fighter. She's from Queens. She's going, we're going to figure out what this looks like. And so during that time, I resigned from coaching in Cincinnati, moved back home to Cleveland and worked in the Cancer Institute. Saw my mom go through her treatment. And I moved to Chicago afterward. And it was really hard to move to Chicago, to leave my mom. It's also the first time I got into therapy because I had the opportunity to leave, but I felt this, like, my mom needs me. I need to be there for her.
Yeah.
And my therapist asked me, well, does your mom need you or do you need your mom? And that hit me. I was like, you're right. Like, I'm still, like I said, that little girl.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry.
No, I'm still that little girl and I will always be that little girl. And so I was like, you know what? You're right. And my mom said, do I want you to live in Cleveland forever? Yes. But you have to spread your wings and go. Like, that is my job as your mother, is to encourage you to go thrive and find your own way. So I moved to Chicago, got into fitness, found my own community, found success, really tried to find out who I am. 2019, my mom's cancer comes back and spread to her brain. And in 2016, I was her caregiver. I was 26. It's the first time I'd been home since I left from college. I struggled being at home, taking care of my mother, who's supposed to be taking care of me. Come back now, 2019, her cancer is in her brain. I knew immediately it was on me, even though I have 3 sisters. I'm the one who's been there. I had some flexibility in my work. This is pre-remote working days where it's like, we'll figure it out. But my team is super flexible. And so what resonated with you as far as rest and the rest practices that I've had to learn through being my mom's caregiver, the first time and helping her get through her treatment, and the second time making medical decisions, paying her bills, getting her to treatment, going from her daughter to her partner, in her fight for her life. Was really challenging. But I knew that if I didn't show up for myself, like genuinely, if I didn't show up for myself, I couldn't be there for her. And not that she needed a warrior, but she needed to be able to look at me and be like, okay, we got this. Like it's gonna be okay. So her cancer ended up, brain cancer is pretty intense. And she ended up passing away in June 2019. And when I shared my story, I didn't expect it to resonate with so many people. Instagram specifically for me has always been a platform for me to just come as I am and just share with no expectation of anything in return. People are like, how did you grow a following? I was like, honestly, just being Kayla and living my life, genuinely. And so the one lesson I did learn in sharing grief so openly is how many people are feeling the same exact thing. And then also how many people came back to me with their stories, which I wasn't prepared for and originally. And I was definitely traumatized by it. I mean, sharing deep loss, murder, it got really deep really fast. And so I told myself, it is my responsibility, I feel like, to normalize an experience we're all going to go through. I just went through it sooner than others.
Yeah.
And we can't be afraid to cry.
Yeah.
Especially as Black women, especially as strong Black women,
Yeah.
especially as people who, there was a beautiful quote I read yesterday from Rainbow Salt that we're looking for a connection, but we're afraid to look each other in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we be expected to feel when we don't give our space to feel?
Yeah.
And I try to share it here and there. I think I have to continually find myself in the right space and feel supported to do it because it does unearth a lot.
Yeah.
But I do believe it is one of my greatest life lessons and a gift. Come back to your word. That I've received, because I would not be who I am today, where I am today, if my parents were still here. And I miss them every day. But in losing them, I was forced to figure out who Kayla is and how does she stand on her own 2 feet. And I'm not saying you need to be rocked to your core to figure that out. But I've developed a different relationship with my parents and them not being here. I still speak to my mom and my dad daily. They're always with me. And I really believe my work here is like continuing their legacy. So that's what drives me and lifts me up on the days where it's hard.
Thank you for like just sharing so open and vulnerable. It's like the stories of other people, you're giving them permission, right? To like live openly with their grief. I think sometimes grief is one of those things where it's like there's shame and there's guilt around it and you live in like isolation with it. Even like your closest community, like you it's hard to like share and open up. And I love that point where you said, that quote, like sometimes we want to feel love or we want to be connected, but we really are like have our armor on. Yeah. And so it's hard to like want to have a hug, but someone's trying to hug you with your armor, right? Like you don't want to lead. That's the visual I get. And so, but like leading with your vulnerability, like you have literally given so many people permission to be like, this is okay. There's other people that are feeling it as well.
Yeah. I really feel like it's also positioned me to really like live life. On the continuum of identifying when things matter and when they really don't. And lean into like really sweet, loving moments like this. And when I'm like, you know what, that's not for me. And I would like, again, I would never wish this experience on anyone, but we're all going to go through it. And what you spoke to earlier was, maybe this was before our conversation started, was we can go through hard things and still thrive through them and find success, find joy, and not let the grief, the death, the hard thing define who you are and anchor you in that moment. And the memorialization of grief and loss is very big like that. You know, it's always in spite of, or that is who made me. Well, no, it's part of your story. And then how you navigate past that continues to be your story, but it doesn't have to be the only part. It doesn't have to be the only thing of who you are.
It doesn't have to become your identity.
Exactly.
And sometimes we get stuck in the grief, and it's kind of like it's not a destination. Like it's we're here.
I love
like,
that.
How do you continue? To like move past that. And I love that you've like this. You've just. And I don't know your whole life, but it just sounds so expansive how you're holding all these different feelings together.
Thank you.
Like you're making space for it all. Like you were just sharing all the positive things, but it's like, no, it's like right at the surface. It's still grief. It's not far removed.
No, thank you. It's the phrase like grief is love with nowhere to go. I feel that, you know what I mean? And I think to fight back the tears does a disservice to my parents, but at the same time, I hear them in my mind, like, stop crying. Like, we're good. I'm so with you. You know what I mean? It's just the relationship definitely changes. And what we said before, like, this is the human experience, which includes a variety of feelings. And a variety of people. And if we're only looking to be happy or we're only looking to be sad, you are denying yourself the entire experience.
I mean, also just that idea that at any given moment, proof right here, you could be feeling a sense of joy and then also simultaneously feel that those little remnants of like grief bubbling to the surface and you feel that sadness and it's so present for you. And yet you still have so much to be grateful for, you know? And I just think that like that is why the conversation around coexistence is so important.
Totally.
to let other people know that, hey, you do not have to just own one emotion and carry that around for the whole day. I mean, imagine like we look at like cartoon characters, right? And like, we're like, okay, like when I look at Bugs Bunny or like when I look at Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse or whatever, like you see this radiating joy, but like their facial expression never changes. Yeah. And it's like, that's not the human experience. The human experience is that we walk around and we have several different facial expressions, several different thoughts, several different, you know, ideas throughout the day that shape us and move us from moment to moment. You know, and it's like, we got to this moment, we were just laughing like literally minutes ago. And then boo-hooing, fogging up the glasses, just like, you know, and that is so beautiful. That to me, I feel like I always talk about how this fertility journey brought me to a new level of vulnerability. It opened me up in a different way. And would never trade it in the world the same way that you say, like, you know, I would never wish this on anybody, but this shaped my story and this like led me on the path that I'm supposed to be on, right? And we can acknowledge that. And as I thought about like that just opening me up from the inside out and like really just like laying it out on the table for myself, I'm like, wow, like that's what makes me who I am. I would never go back. I would never trade that. Like the experiences were hard. Yes, I experienced loss. I experienced that grief. Like I'm still experiencing it in the present moment, but like, geez, like the person that I am now, like the way that I can share and sit in community and open up the conversation for others, that is the purpose in it all.
Yeah, there's gratitude and grief. And it's a weird duality.
Yeah,
it's a weird duality to really share with people who haven't allowed themselves to experience whatever their version of grief is. You know, I think whenever I speak to people about hard things in life, and they're like, "Well, I didn't lose it." I'm like, "We're not going to do the comparative suffering thing." Like,
not to diminish anybody's experience.
You know, your hardest moment is your hardest moment. It's relative, and so is mine, but you don't really understand the gift that really is in it until you allow yourself to go into that space, to unpack it, to really, I mean, really feel it. And for me, it ebbs and flows. Some days is really good. This is actually really beautiful. My mom's birthday is February 20th. So we're coming up on it.
Happy birthday,
Your mom's name is Leslie, right? Okay. Happy birthday, Leslie.
Yes.
We love you.
And it's the lesson you don't really experience until you allow yourself to come out on the other side and be like, how has this shaped me? How has it informed my life going forward? And there's a gift in it. And there really is.
Yeah.
It's a gift to feel. It really is a gift. And if you're going to feel, you got to feel it all.
And being able to like, just feel, like you're saying, feel just like some people don't get to feel the full breadth of their emotions. And I think that's what's beautiful about this like lived human experience. It's like, I can be really happy and I can be sad and I can be pensive and I can be like really feeling like visceral about things. But like just being in it and being with it is the beauty and that idea of like the other side. But you have to go through it.
You have to go through it
to get to the other side. I'm such a believer in like my biggest struggles. I always feel like are what my purpose lies in that, right? And so you have to go through these experiences so you can have a very intimate knowledge to speak to that.
Totally.
So it's hard to like help other people and liberate others if it's just like, oh, like I kind of understand. I read a book. I listened to 2 podcasts about like grief in this way. Whereas like when you feel it, you've been through it, you've had to navigate the ebbs, the flows, the ups, the downs, like in just again, like such an intimate way. The way you're able to speak to those experiences and just relate and connect. I think that's the biggest thing here. Like we've all had our own versions of what grief looks like. Like I feel like me right now, like I'm grieving the loss of a business and a friendship that's really was important to me. And so again, within that, there's so much beauty, right? And it's like allowing yourself to be, and it doesn't always have to be loss as in death.
Totally.
There's so many different losses, losses of relationships, losses of like just deferred dreams.
Entirely.
I mean, honestly, as soon as you said that, like I was thinking of this part that I just read in Alex L's book, How We Heal. And she goes into like this sort of like writing exercise with like a Venn diagram about the duality of healing and pain. And, you know, usually you talk about them separately, right? You talk about like, oh, I'm in pain or I am healing, right?
Right.
But they can coexist. They can be in the space at the same time. Like we can be in healing mode and very presently feel the pain of it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I mean, like, you know, we talked a little bit about support. You touched on like reading like certain books and resources and things like that. I think, Kayla, my next question for you, you know, obviously like you can't read a book and heal yourself through this, right? But like,
I read it once. Why am I not healed?
Why am I not healed? Listen, okay?
Right.
But were there any resources that supported you through this? And like, would love to share those with our audience if you have some.
Sure. I think first and foremost, therapy was huge for me. And I started my therapy while my mom was still alive because I knew what the end result was going to be. So I grieved my mom as well as her death in real time. And the gift of that for me was the fact I was able to go through questions like, okay, Kayla, what thoughts are you telling yourself? My therapist encouraged me to ask myself every night, okay, what thoughts are you telling yourself? So to identify what's true, what's fact, and where is your thoughts being unhelpful and destructive. So having someone, a licensed professional, to kind of just honestly just word vomit at, because she was a Black woman, a mother herself, and it just created that safe, nurturing space for me to go through this process. Because you know, people would say, well, you have your sisters. I'm like, well, they're also grieving. You know what I mean? So that's not fair on them for me to go tell how I'm feeling, then double down how they're feeling. Dump on them, and then they have to carry it. So having a therapist was super, super helpful for me. And just someone that I was able to like get it out, release, kind of get some, you know, get my mind together, then go back into taking care of my mom, because it very much is, it's a role responsibility that you have to provide for someone else. You know, I'm single. I don't have any kids. I don't have any pets. My plants are doing their thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mommy.
You know, they're doing their thing. But like, I don't, you know, every day I would wake up and I had to navigate the world for myself. And so having to then have someone, an adult human, rely on me definitely created some pressures and some just feelings of like, I don't have time for myself, especially as caregivers do. So a therapist is super helpful. Having a community who didn't want anything of me and didn't expect anything from me and allowed me just to show up as Kayla, but not Kayla with the dying mom. Which is like huge for me. And so that's really where I ran with my first run crew ever in Cleveland, where I'm from, called Run with the Winners. I went out to my first run club run. It was like 3 miles, boo-hooing. On like a song hit me and I'm just, we're like running through downtown Cleveland and I'm just like, the sun, it is a beautiful day and moment. And I'm just like the soul release that was needed that I didn't even realize I needed in that moment from holding things so close, so tight for so long. So having community and being able to show up as Kayla, not Kayla with the dying mom, or like, we don't know how to act around her. Like, do you ask? Like, cause how are you doing is the worst question to ask when you know someone is dying, because obviously not great. You know what I mean? It's not the best day. But having people who allowed you just to show up and feel those feelings of normalcy. And that's one part also that was really helpful for me, because I was, at the time, I was back home in Cleveland taking care of my mom, but I also would take trips out to Chicago, back where I was living, just to take a break. Because the first time I was my mom's caregiver, I was home with her for 8 months, had never been home since I was 18. So I really struggled with that drastic shift of lifestyle. And it felt a little bit, it felt unfair. It felt unfair that, you know, I resented my sisters a little bit. My younger sister was in college. She couldn't really do it. My other sisters were just in their careers, so it didn't make sense for them, but I resented them a lot for like, why do I have to always be the one that sacrifices? But also I volunteered as tribute. You know what I mean?
I love your honesty with that.
Thank you.
That's so key, because I think sometimes we hold that in
entirely,
and then you don't process that out, and then it's like you're grieving, but you're also creating distance sometimes with the other people that are in the circle or in that community.
I think like identifying when like you can't be a chosen martyr and then have resentment. Like it doesn't, you don't get to, that's kind of shit.
Both hands.
You know what I mean? And so the second time my mom got sick and I realized it was brain cancer, and just the work that I've done, like I worked at Northwestern University in patient data. And so just like brain trauma, like I was very much aware what 7 to 15 minutes of radiation would do. Like I knew immediately, I was like, this is serious. And it could potentially not, like that Capricorn in me really quick got like very, maybe a little too rational to points I felt a little disconnected, but I almost had to like put myself in that position to disassociate just a little bit. But I called my sisters and I was just like, hey guys, again, I was the one who had to tell my sisters. And I was like, hey, mom's cancer is back. It's spread to her brain. I'm going to move home because she's in a walker. My mom's 58. She's a walker. She can't stand. She can barely get herself to the bathroom. Like I have a sister all the way.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable being the caregiver. I've done this before. My mom also trusts me the most.
Listen.
It's facts.
But there has to be.
So you're saying, but not saying you were the favorite.
You said it, not me. I'm kidding. Mom. No, but I think just because I've been there, and when I think about my life and how I was able just to be organized in it. Honestly, going to college and having student debt, all those things was great.
Yeah.
So the second time came around, I was like, all right, I'm going to go home and take care of mom, but I'm going to need you guys. Mm-hmm. And you guys have to I'm going to need you to relieve me because I can do this, but I can't do this full go. And for them, I think when you're the one who bears a lot of responsibility and is always in leadership positions, people don't think you need help. They
Listen,
don't until
being the oldest of 10, I relate to that. Okay.
They always think you got it together.
Yeah.
I'm
falling apart.
I'm crumbling on the inside.
Check on your strong friends piece.
Yeah,
it's like
real.
us. Yeah.
It's
but I hear you saying you asked for what you needed this go round.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm the strong friend and strong person. It's can't people just see that I need help?
Well, asking for help is a struggle. And then also having that expectation in the back of your mind that people are just going to see that you need help and they're just going to reach.
And they're not. It is a lesson I continue to learn in my everyday life.
Vulnerability.
Yes. Yep. And knowing the difference between not asking for help because you're not sure what you need or being afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good distinction.
And I still in my everyday life think about I can be better at for myself asking for help when I need it. Mm-hmm. Even if it's hey, can you just go water my plants today? Versus come home and all my plants are dead. Hey, why don't you ask for someone to water your plants?
Yeah. I heard someone, I had this one coach tell me that we almost rob people of the opportunity to support us.
Talk about it.
When we don't ask for help. And it's there's so many people who are especially in that situation, who are I don't know how to support, but I would love to jump in.
Right.
And
wherever you need me.
Yeah.
You could be blocking their blessing.
Totally.
You could be
talk about
hindering whatever their growth is supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah. And so thinking about it is it's really I'm giving people an opportunity here.
And especially with my mom, that resonates even deeper because although I was my mom's primary caregiver, and so when she was in her 7th round of treatment, each round they kind of gauge where she was at. And her last round, or she was supposed to do 10 rounds. She got through 7. And the 7th one, they're we got to hospitalize her. She's just not doing well. We need to keep her hydrated, which is funny because I'm really big on hydration. And I really think it's because of my mom. She was I'm not going to drink water. I'm just going to go to treatment and get IVs. I was we need a better strategy.
Yeah.
So she was hospitalized, and at which time, once you're hospitalized, you have to go to a transitional care facility before they release you into your home, just to make sure everything's going well, your treatment's well, you're responding. And so when she got into her transitional care facility, she did well, and then she started to kind of deteriorate, and bringing her home was dangerous for both of us because my mom couldn't stand on her own. She couldn't sit up on her own. And this is where 2 weeks before, my mom was able to at least get up and walk her and stand. But those 10 minutes of radiation, the cancer had just progressed really quickly. And so at that time of me not only telling my sisters I needed help, 2 things happened. One, we created a GoFundMe because I'm medical bills are expensive.
Yeah.
And I knew my mom would have killed me if she knew we did it. But I was you have 3 daughters. I don't know how to pay 20 grand in medical bills. I work in higher ed. You know what I mean? So asking help financially. And then once that became more well-known, the way our community showed up, the community I grew up in, Seoul in Ohio, people were bringing food. If I need to leave and my sisters weren't there, they would come sit with my mom because there wasn't a day my mom was by herself. If not me, then a family friend. And in that, as far as denying them the opportunity to help, it gave each person who was wanted to step up an opportunity to say goodbye. You know what I mean? And I think that whole time period brought all of us so close and showed that it really does take a village. It takes a village.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Kayla. And honestly, leaning into that support, leaning into that community is truly that's become a vital part of life for me. And I'm sure for both of you too. it is never easy to go through those things, but imagine if you had to do it alone, like it would be that much harder.
Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I welcome that. I love that you shared like having a therapist, having someone that you could just give that crappy first draft. Like I talk a lot about that with like my fertility support group is like, you know, we have this group of women that we can just literally go in there and just like bleh, lay it all out, word vomit, like doesn't matter what it looks like, sounds like, feels like, whatever. And that is so important for me, like in my growth, like on this journey, I need that. I need to be able to just like let the words fly out of my mouth and like not feel like I have to be like guarded in that space or not feel like I this is also me just like wanting to show up polished. Yeah. But like having that group of women also that don't know me from a can of paint and like sitting in this space with them and just being able to be like raw and
messy.
show up. Yes.
Like, it's okay to be messy.
It's being human. It's being human. I love that polished piece because that's something I sometimes feel, and I'm sure both of you feel in your life. When you've been in leadership positions or you have titles and roles that put responsibility on you, you want to make sure you're showing up in them in a way that feels, I mean, that's a whole separate conversation as far as being a Black woman in Black space and in leadership spaces put together, because the authority position, the credibility, people to trust you, respect you. Yeah. But that's just exhausting.
It is.
It's exhausting.
Well, it's exhausting, and it is honoring this idea of a human doing rather than a human being.
Yes. Yeah.
Where we have multiple layers, multiple emotions. Yeah. We feel all the things, and like we should be allowed to do that just like any other human being who lives their life under the radar, right? So yeah, I love that. I also think we should share some maybe
well, I want to say one thing that like I love. I keep hearing this theme like that I'm picking up from you.
1 second. Oh. We're gonna like scale that back. We're gonna run whatever you just said. We just started from the top.
Yeah. Okay.
So then, great. We can just leave it off. We'll just be zeroed out. Here we go.
And we add more time.
Yeah. Here we go. All right, go ahead.
But I love that this theme that I keep picking up from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like vulnerability is like your superpower.
Absolutely.
And it's shown up in so many different ways of you like constantly choosing, like even down to like the Kickstarter, right? Where it's like, there's a pride in that, but it's like, no, like people want to support. Yeah. And if I let people know this is what I need at this moment, like they're going to show up for me in this way.
That's entirely correct. It's something I tried to hide so long, especially being younger. I was the tough girl. My sisters used to call me Sister Soldier. Like she's in the field, she's in cry. She's right, exactly. Like nothing. Like I'm just like this hard ass all the time. Yeah. And slowly over time, relationships I think started to crack me a little bit. Yeah. And then the rock bottom was my parents. And I was like, well, you can keep trying to like harden your way, white knuckle your way through life, and you're not going to feel anything. It's going to feel challenging. Physically, you're going to carry a lot of it, or you just let yourself unfold and you just build day by day, 1% better. That's really where 1% better every damn day came from, was taking care of my mom, because the days that she was feeling well, we called them $1 million days. Yeah, and then every other day was just like 1%, just like do a little bit that you can. Like everyone always talks about, Kayla, you're able to get up at 5 a.m. and work out. Well, my mom would look for me at 7 a.m. every morning. So my only time to work out was from 5 to 6. And the gym that made me feel safe and nurtured was 30 minutes away. So I woke up at 4 o'clock, drove, went to the gym, took care of myself to be there for my mom. Yeah. So coming back to, I think people are very quick to think, yes, being an athlete gave me a lot of routines and rituals and lifestyle and structure, but it's really my life, that life circumstances that shaped who I am today. And I'm grateful for it.
That's what makes you Kayla.
Yes. So makes
and we
you Kayla.
Love Kayla.
You also I keep hearing you put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah. When I was taking care of my mom the first time, I was like, you need the oxygen. And I was a wreck. Yeah. And not even in let yourself feel just not doing well, not eating, not sleeping, which is why I'm also really big on sleep, because second time taking care of my mom, I knew I had to be in top performance shape. I had to take care of the athlete of Kayla to show up for mom, and not the performance of it, but you got to eat right, you got to sleep, you got to check your mindset, you got to drink your water, because this is a human who, when my mom needed to be, my mom couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom. Sorry, mom. I had to, you know what I mean? I had to feed her, I had to change her, I had to take her into the car. I was her body. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I had to take care of my body for both of us. And it's so quick. We're so quick, especially as people that are in community and givers, to want to give.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, you're left with nothing. But how can you serve? How can you be in purpose, whether it's through creation or in service, if you're not physically able to be there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kayla, so good. I'm so full and like overflowing too, you know? Like,
thank you.
I mean, wow. Like, the life you've already lived up to this point, the life you've led up to this point is so full and so phenomenal. Like,
Thank
you
you.
Truly are the definition of a phenomenal woman. And I admire you so much. And then also, I know so much more is ahead for you. Like, I'm like, so this is where we are. This is where we're, it's like, and she's about to like skyrocket and go over there.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, that is magical to bear witness to.
Thank you.
And magical to be in community with and to be in the company of. And I just want to thank you. I also like want to run it back and deliver my deepest condolences to you.
Thank you.
And know that like we are here to hold space for you as your sisters. Like,
for real.
oh
Like,
yeah,
we're in
like
this.
genuine.
we can't break this up. This is like, we ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
But I just appreciate you for sharing so openly and being so willing to sit in this space and, you know, be with us, be in this community and share your idea of coexistence.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you both for creating the space for that even to happen. I know I do share openly, you know, about my experience, but the level of guardedness around it it varies. But you both are just so beautiful and just so loving, and it radiates off of both of you.
Thank you.
It really does.
Thank you.
You led with your heart today.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, I could just like feel it. It was palpable.
Yeah.
You really led with your heart. So thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
No, Jen.
Alicia, my dear, I'll let you take us out. Close us out.
This has been a fulfilling and beautiful and just amazing experience.
Yeah.
Everybody, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say, what the comments are, how your life has maybe even been transformed, even just 1% from the conversations that you experienced with us today. But until next time.
Yes, next time.
We're signing out. I'm Alicia Ferguson.
I'm Deja Riley, and you just tuned in to your weekly dose of duality.
Peace, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was a beautiful, beautiful conversation that we just had with Kayla. And we want to leave you with some inspirational words.
So I've got it pulled up here, Alicia. Kayla sent this to us herself. And Sean Martin, an elite Navajo ultra runner, said, "We run to celebrate life. We run because it's a form of prayer. You can go to any hogan during a ceremony and listen to a medicine man pray. But you can pray too, through your feet, through your breath, because running is a prayer. You're speaking to Mother Earth with your feet. You're breathing in Father Sky. That is a prayer. You're telling them, you're asking them for blessings. You're showing them that you're willing to work for that prayer, for those blessings. And while you're out there running, you learn about the land, the sky, the Creator, the holy people, and you make a connection. When you make that connection, you will be a champion. You will become a warrior."
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, leaving you with that inspiration, go out and be warriors today.
If you enjoyed this episode of Dose of Duality, the podcast, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share with others.
Continue. The aesthetic and the vision of what wellness looks like is being created, and it's not including so many pieces of what it actually is daily in a way that's practical. Like I tell people, when you're at a stoplight, take 3 deep breaths. Like that's a micro wellness moment just for you. It doesn't only have to be the experience or the service. So having these conversations, the practical things that we're all sharing that people can take away, and just being real humans for people who have a platform in this space in the industry, like, oh, like they go through hard shit too, or they figured it out also. Like
I was listening to
still every day.
Same.
Same.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I think that is the purpose behind all of this.